महत्सेवया विप्रा पुण्यतीर्थानि सेवना शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्ण निश्चयकीर्तन हृदयन्तस्तो भद्राणि विदुनोति सुहृत्सताम् नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी तथा रजस्तमो भावा कामलोभादयश्च चेत एतैर्नाविद्धं स्थितं सत्त्वे प्रसीदति एवं प्रसन्न मनसो भगवद्भक्तियोगतः भगवत्तत्त्वविज्ञानं मुक्तसङ्गस्य जायते विद्यते हृदयग्रन्थिश्चिद्यन्ते सर्वसंशया क्षीयन्ते चास्य कर्माणि दृष्ट एवात्मनीश्वरे ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय Canto 2, Chapter 7, Text 30. Yeah. Phone is working from here. Hare Krishna, devotees on the Zoom. Are you able to hear?
Yes, Mataji. Can you hear me now?
Cannot hear. Hope they're able to hear. Okay. Kindly forgive me for this last minute change and cannot prepare and some technical issues. Who are on Zoom and on. Oh, it's coming. Okay, so we are continuing the discussion on the scheduled incarnations, chapter 7, Canto 2, where Lord Brahma is describing all the scheduled incarnations and their specific purposes that the Lord appears to Naradaji. So he's continuing Krishna's indescribable potency and how superhuman his activities are, and how whatever he does, right from the childhood until like throughout his life, how his activities every moment actually tells his Supreme Lord. Read this verse, text 30. Ita yadyadupabandhamamushya mata shulbam sutasya natutadamusya mati yajrimpatosya vadane bhuvanani gopi samviksha shankitamana pratibodhitasi Grihnita yadyadupabandhamamushya mata Shulbam sutasya natutadamusya mati Yajrimbatosya vadane bhuvanani gopi Samvikshya sankitamana pratibodhitasi Prabhuji. Even read word to word. Grihnita by sorry. Grihnita by taking up. Yet whatsoever. Upabandham. Ropes for tying. Amushya. His. Mata. Mother. Shulbam. Ropes. Sutasya. Of her son. Na. Not. To. However. Tat. By and by. Amushya. His. Mati. Was sufficient. Yet. That which. Jrimbataha. Opening the mouth. Asya. Of him. Vadane. In the mouth. Bhuvanani. The worlds. Gopi. The cowherd woman. Samvikshya. So seeing it. Shankita mana. Doubtful in mind. Pratibodhita. Convinced in a different way. Asi. Was so done. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace is Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. When the cowherd woman, Krishna's foster mother Yashoda, was trying to tie the hands of her son with ropes, she found the rope to be always insufficient in length. And when she finally gave up, Lord Krishna, by and by, opened his mouth, wherein the mother found all the universes created. Seeing this, she was doubtful in her mind, but she was convinced in a different manner of the mystic nature of her son. One day, Lord Krishna, as a naughty child, disturbed his mother Yashoda, and she began to tie up the child with ropes just to punish him. But no matter how much rope she used, she found it always insufficient. Thus, she became fatigued. But in the meantime, the Lord opened his mouth, and the affectionate mother saw within the mouth of her son all the universes situated together. The mother was astonished, but out of her deep affection for Krishna, she thought that the Almighty Godhead, Narayana, had kindly looked after her son just to protect him from all the continuous calamities happening to him. Because of her deep affection for Krishna, she could never think that her very son was Narayana, personality of Godhead himself. That is the action of Yoga Maya, the internal potency of the Supreme Lord, which acts to perfect all the pastimes of the Lord with his different types of devotees. Who could play such wonders without being God? To purport. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Thapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadraitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Desha Tarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Janate Ishtaram Sukharam Bhave Vismrite Viparitam Chaitanyam. Krishna, thank you so much for joining this. After a long time, we are having this conversation with them. Feels so enlivening being temple room presence, devotee. But nevertheless, it's wonderful how devotees are able to think through out of the box, whether COVID, before COVID, after COVID, during COVID, we are able to continue this association with Srimad Bhagavatam, thus with the Lord, which I'm sure is that sustaining force, that nourishing water for all of our bhakti, whatever is happening. I mean, at least I can speak for myself. If it's not for this devotees association and Bhagavatam, the holy name, however inattentive or whatever is happening, I don't think, my devotion would have been dried up long back. So I'm feeling really very, very fortunate to be here. Very special congregation. And it's such a wonderful opportunity that we have Shishi Radha Shyam and the altar. Them willing, we will have them. We have. Okay. Shishi Radha Shyam. So it's very odd. This Leela is actually talking about Lord Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. We have Sri Shyam Sundar here, who is apt for Vrindavan, and Brahmaji is talking about all the incarnations. And whenever the Lord comes here as some incarnation, he has a specific purpose. And we keep hearing this Paritranaya Sadhuna verse. He has three purposes. He comes to save his devotees and kill the demons, then to establish the religious principles whenever there is decline in religion. But as I was reading through this purport, Srila Jiva Goswami's commentary says, if he wants to kill the demons, he can anyway do that. He doesn't really have to come here all the way to this material world for that purpose. But why does he come here? So he can give us this pastime to absorb his devotees in this pools of ecstasy. We have this verse in Damodara Ashtakam, the third verse. Didriksvalila kunde swaghosham nimajantamakhyapayantam Ananda Kunde. Like it's a pools of ecstasy, it's a big reservoir. It's not like this little bit happiness that we get here and there in the material world. So it's so much of that happiness, that ecstasy, that we may not even be able to understand. Probably the glimpse of it we can realize from last evening, those of us who are here during the Kirtan and just when the altar opened, all of us felt that indescribable joy of seeing them, that after long separation, like, you're reuniting. And last Sunday, His Holiness Chandramauli Maharaj was here, and so many devotees were expressing, what's it like? It's nothing like what our usual Sunday feast is. So these devotees are experiencing that ecstasy, and they are able to give us, share that, even though we are not at that level. I mean, at least I can speak for myself. All the other times, so much misery and like mind says this, that, whatever, so much going on. But in spite of that, we are able to experience Him. That means it is there and it's available for each and every one of us. So that is really the main purpose here for all these pastimes. Not necessarily that he has to kill some demons, so Krishna is coming. So this Damodar pastime, those of us who are veterans would have heard this so many times. Every year during Kartik, we keep hearing this story. But every year it gets a little bit deeper, the meaning, the realization, how we can apply in our own life this effort and mercy. So it's so beautiful. That's another aspect of the pastimes that I'm thinking through. So these pastimes, these incarnations are listed out in the first canto, third chapter, the whole entire set. And again here, Lord Brahma is explaining. And then further cantos gives much more details. So even though we say, I have heard this pastime, I know this pastime, but every time we hear, every time, we read, the newer insights, the newer realizations actually, come and help us take a little more step towards the Krishna going forward in our journey. So here, Prabhupada is describing this pastime. One day, Lord Krishna, as a naughty child, disturbed his mother Yashoda as she began to tie up the child with ropes just to punish him. So we know that Lord Krishna broke the pots and spoiled the butter that Mother Yashoda was trying to make with so much care from very special milk. And he just broke it and just gone. And you see, okay, he may be angry. He could have just gone. Why he has to, disturb that and break this pot and spoil the butter? But it's to increase their feelings. Otherwise, Mother Yashoda wouldn't become so angry. She would be angry, and she says, okay, he ran, and let me try to find him. But he wants to intensify Mother Yashoda's feelings. And even some of the other pastimes in this residence, he will steal the butter, and if they don't have butter, he'll do all kinds of, so-called abominable things, passing urine, stool, and this and that. I'm like, okay. It is to intensify. It's, of course, for Lord, nothing is abominable. Everything is transcendental in His body. It's like our body doesn't smell or whatever. But it's just that His interaction, His wanting to have that relationship. By those pastimes, He's giving those ladies the opportunity to come and share with Mother Yashoda, and they're so happy. And when Mother Yashoda says, okay, I'll remove his jewelry so that he doesn't have light to steal the butter. They say, no, don't do that. Please keep him. He looks so beautiful. So they wanted to see him. They wanted him to come. And I have heard this in one of the pastime. One of the devotees was sharing. They would actually be waiting. They're complaining that he's coming and stealing the butter, right? One day, if Krishna goes late, oh, why Krishna is not coming yet to my house? And so they will try to put it a little lower, like they're hanging on the top. the butter, and they will keep it little low so that he can reach. Otherwise, he may say, "Oh, it's too tall. I can't reach. I'll go to some other house." They want him. They want him to come and take that butter. So they're so much relishing these pastimes. And the other interesting thing here is, okay, I was going to talk about this always insufficient, the rope. So if we try to think logically, we have a rope and another rope. Obviously, it has to become more than this. And little Krishna is only this much. He's not like keep growing up. She's seeing in front of him. He's just standing as like a small little child. But the rope is getting shortened, or is it the illusion? It's kind of like beyond our imagination. We cannot really understand that. But what is interesting is she's not giving up. She's like trying to get more and more, like 900,000 ropes. It's like I was thinking the whole house would be full of the ropes. But yet it's so inconceivable for us. So as I was reading this pastime, my mind is again telling me, hey, how is this possible? How do I understand? What does it mean? So Krishna deliberately wants us to not understand these pastimes, or like what's happening. But it's that's the thing with Lord Krishna's pastimes. He has a human-like form, where the pastimes are seemingly human, but at the same time, he has that inconceivability in each of his pastimes. We see for the past few verses and the next few verses, Lord Brahma is talking about all the pastimes of childhood pastimes of Lord Krishna, Vrindavan, where we see that inconceivability. As a little child, this gigantic demon as Putana, he could kill her just like that. And then this huge cart, like a days-old baby, he could kick it and then, kill that Shakatasura. So like that, so many pastimes, he was able to do that. So he is displaying his inconceivability, showing that he is none other than the Supreme God himself. He is not one of the incarnations, but he is the source of the incarnation. But at the same time, he has this very human-like, the childish nature and those pastimes, where he's attracting these gopas and gopis. And by hearing those pastimes, even our hearts are so drawn, just almost helplessly drawn towards him. So that's really the beauty of it. And the next pastime, it's in this verse, is Mother Yashoda. So she was not able to tie. So in the Damodara pastime, in the 10th canto, what we typically hear is, and then the Lord says, okay, fine, my mother got so tired, so let me now, give up my Yogamaya potency and let her tie me. And then she was able to tie, and then he went and delivered Nalakuta. That's the story we typically hear. But here, we see this Krishna yawning, and then Mother Yashoda seeing all the universes. And I was going, oh, wait, that's a different pastime. Why is Lord Brahma mixing up two pastimes? Did he forget or something like that? And then I was hearing this, His Holiness Bhaktishara Maharaj's discussion on this. And Maharaj so beautifully describing Krishna's pastimes are continuously going on. So Krishna is Krishna is appearing at some other universe now, and Krishna is doing the Damodar Leela in some other universe now, and he's killing Kamsa some other universe. So it's not like he has to be here and do this pastime, and after this done, he goes somewhere else and do the pastime. So it's simultaneously happening. So Maharaj was telling, so why not this? He could have yawned here in Damodara pastime, and he could have also shown the universal form in separate chapters, separate pastimes from the 10th canto. So I found it very beautiful. Yes, everything is possible for Krishna. So that's how we can understand this, because my mind is kind of analytical sometimes. It goes, hey, why is this devotee is doing this? This is supposed to be like that. That is supposed to be like this. What is happening here? Whenever there is some apparent contradiction or something is there. But this is how I'm telling, my mind, this is how we can understand the lost pastimes. And it's not that anyway we can understand with our teeny tiny capacity, how much brain capacity we have. So here he is yawning and Mother Yashoda is seeing all the universes. Actually, I think it's mentioned few more places also where he opens his mouth, not just when he, the boys complain of Krishna eating the dirt and then he opens. That's when the whole chapter is discussed, the 10th canto. But even other times, whenever he opens, because he is the source of all creation. So he has all that. It's not like he's showing up some mystical ability and then it's going away. So how Mother Yashoda is taking here is actually interesting. Oh, 805, first verse. Okay. So she for a moment she thought like, oh, what is happening here? Like, kind of bewilderment. Really my son, and like so much happening. And in the 10th canto, for the pastime, Srila Prabhupada actually writes, she understood the real truth. She understood for a moment that this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is actually showing me the real truth, absolute truth. But in another moment, just like that, like the Yogamaya covered, and she's like, no, I may be seeing things, I may be hallucinated, and this is my darling child. What am I talking? He's not God. He's just so dependent on me. He can't do anything without me. And he cries if he's scared and he wants me. So she just comes back. So this is what Prabhupada is writing here. That's the action of Yoga Maya, the internal potency of the Supreme Lord, which acts to perfect all the pastimes of the Lord with his different types of devotees. Who could play such wonders without being God? So in one moment, he shows like his divinity and his opulences. But in another moment, all that is covered and they're so attracted by his sweetness that they'll forget everything. In fact, after Govardhan Leela, all these covered men goes to Nanda Maharaj and they're like really serious. Who is this child? What is happening? How is it possible for a 7-year-old to lift this Govardhan hill for 7 nights and 7 days? He must be something. And then Nanda Maharaj, he also was like, contemplating. And then he says, no, Gargamuni told he has opulences and strength like Lord Narayana. So Lord Narayana is protecting him. So he's like that. But he's our dear child. He convinces them. And then they're all like, yeah, he is our darling Shama Sundara, Yashodanandan and Nandan. So it's very sweet in one sense, I used to think while I was reading, hey, can they think logically, like what's happening and understand it's God they're dealing with? But it's by the deliberate will of the Lord that he doesn't care, but just his awe and veneration, we can understand if someone is like, so kind of, if let us say somebody is in very high position and everybody comes and says, oh, you are like this, oh, you are like that, and all that. I mean, if we are so hankering for such kind of praise, we may feel happy for some time, but it doesn't really touch the heart. It's like, okay, yeah, fine. And then I'm like, okay, I'm waiting to be with my friends or family where I can really be unite and, interact heart to heart basis. So that's what Krishna also wants. He doesn't want like everybody to be, just looking at him, awe and reverence. Oh, he's like this. Oh, he did this. Yes, it's all there. But he also wants that intimacy, that affection and understanding his sweetness, affection. So, and we are really, really fortunate to be able to worship Krishna in his original form along with Radharani in the mode of Vrindavan, because that's what our acharyas are giving us. Otherwise, I mean, we don't have the access. And Lord Brahma, at the conclusion of this chapter, he says, it's not possible. After listing out all these incarnations, he says, even Ananta can't describe his glories and his, incarnations. So it's not possible for anyone to understand. But how is it that we are getting this access and how is it that we are getting to hear? because Krishna has given this, his mercy and revelation to our acharyas. And they are giving a drop of glimpses of that to us so that we can hear and we will be attracted to him. And then gradually, we can also reach that position where we will be, Krishna reveals to each of us, but we will receive according to our capacity. How much is our channel able to receive? That much we can receive. So we can also feel that the sweetness and his reciprocation. So we'll move on to the next verse, text 31. Nandam cha mokshati bhayad varunasya pashad gopan bileshu pihitan maya sonu nacha ahnyāpritam shi shayanamatishrāmena lokam vikuntamupatishyati Gokulam Sma. Lord Krishna saved his foster father Nanda Maharaja from the fear of the demigod Varuna and released the cowherd boys from the caves of the mountains, for they were placed there by the son of Maya. Also to the inhabitants of Vrindavan, who were busy working during daytime and sleeping soundly at night because of their hard labor in the day, Lord Krishna awarded promotion to the highest planet in the spiritual sky. All these acts are transcendental and certainly prove without any doubt his godhood. Purport. Nanda Maharaja, the foster father of Lord Krishna, went to take his bath in the river Yamuna in the dead of night, mistakenly thinking that the night was already over. Thus the demigod Varuna took him to the Varuna planet just to have a look at the personality of Godhead Lord Krishna, who appeared there to release his father. Actually, there was no arrest of Nanda Maharaja by Varuna because the inhabitants of Vrindavan were always engaged in thinking of Krishna in constant meditation on the personality of Godhead in a particular form of samadhi or trance of bhakti yoga. They had no fear of the miseries of material existence. In the Bhagavad Gita, it's confirmed that to be in association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead by full surrender in transcendental love frees one from the miseries inflicted by the laws of material nature. Here it is clearly mentioned that the inhabitants of Vrindavan were extensively busy in the hard labor of their day's work. And due to the day's hard labor, they were engaged in sound sleep at night. So practically, they had very little time to devote to meditate or to the other paraphernalia of spiritual activities. But factually, they were engaged in the highest spiritual activities only. Everything done by them was spiritualized because everything was dovetailed in their relation with Lord Shri Krishna. The central point of activities was Krishna, and as such, the so-called activities in the material world were saturated with spiritual potency. That is the advantage of the way of Bhakti Yoga. One should discharge one's duty on Lord Krishna's behalf, and all one's actions will be saturated with Krishna thought, the highest pattern of trance in spiritual realization. So these verses are talking about how Krishna has freed Nanda Maharaj. We know this pastime where Nanda Maharaj thought it was Dwadashi time. After Ekadashi, he went to take bath and to break the Ekadashi. But apparently, few moments, the miscalculation, it was not the time. So Varuna said this is inauspicious time. So he took Nanda Maharaja with him to his planet. And Prabhupada explains here, as well as in 10th canto, that he actually, it's not really about the timing or Nanda Maharaj missed the timing or something. It's just that Varuna had this desire to see Krishna. So he thought this is an excuse. If he takes his father, then Krishna will come for his father, and that way I'll get to see him and I'll worship him. So it's pretty amazing. Like the whole description there, Krishna goes like, okay, who is that? Like, who took my father? And as soon as Varuna sees Krishna there, he just runs with all his, assistants and wives, with all the paraphernalia he's worshipping. And Nanda Maharaj was looking and he was like, okay. So this is again the same thing as Mother Yashoda was going through at that point. at the bewilderment. Who is he? This is my little darling child. And this demigod Varuna, and so opulent, he is actually, worshipping my child with all that thing. So what is happening here? Again, he actually goes through the same emotions like Mother Yashoda. One moment understanding that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the next moment covering by Yoga Maya, he thinks, no, my child. So that's the pastime it's talked about here. And there is another one for cowherd boys from the caves of mountain, for they were placed there by the son of Maya. I haven't heard about this pastime, but there is a mention of this at another place in 10th canto also, where when Lord Gopis describe what all Krishna has done for Vrindavan in the separation of Krishna in the chapter 31, very beautiful verses. There, they keep talking about Krishna. When Krishna goes to the forest, all these gopis feel so much separation during the day that they describe all his activities throughout the day until they see him again in the evening. So in one of the verses, they says how he has saved us from the fears of this Maya Tatatmaja, the son of Maya, and the bull demon and all these calamities, how he has saved. So I couldn't really find the reference, but that's what Lord Brahma is talking about here, how Krishna has saved them from the caves of mountain. Typically, we hear Lord Brahma taking the cowherd boys and putting them in the cave, but looks like they were put in the cave by another, this demon also, another time. So the other aspect here is, this who were busy working during the daytime and sleeping soundly at night because of their hard labor in the day. Lord Krishna awarded promotion to the highest planet in the spiritual sky. So I think there's a little bit of context to this. Of course, Prabhupada is writing as day-to-day work, so they are completely absorbed and everything is dovetailed to Krishna, because during the day when he's absent, when he's gone to forest, he's thinking of him. During the evenings when he is there, they're in front of him, they're, all the interactions with him. So there is no time that practically they're not thinking of Krishna. When the cowherd boys, they say, they come at like 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the midnight and knock on the door of Mother Yashoda. Is Krishna awake? Is Krishna awake? This is the time for us to go to the forest for tending the cows. And Mother Yashoda is like, oh, this is midnight. He's still sleeping. Go back and come. Because they're so eager wanting to be with Krishna that they don't even bother it's night or day. They're always thinking of Krishna. So that's what Prabhupada is talking. It's not that they're busy in the day's work, so they don't have separate time. For us, today is Sunday morning, so we are like, okay, let me go take darshan and let me hear this Srimad Bhagavatam, let me stay for a little bit. Otherwise, once the week starts, we will be constantly juggling through many, many things. And at least for me, I remember like maybe once or twice during the day, if I'm fortunate. Some days not even that, maybe not even during chanting. I'm like, I have to complete chanting. There is Krishna there, I don't even know. But for Vrindavan, like these Rajavasis, they don't have to like sit in a Bhagavatam class, or they don't have to sit for 2 hours chanting or come to the temple. Their hearts is temple. Krishna is like, Krishna is going to them and like, personally they're interacting. Even when he's not there, their bhakti, their prema is so immense that there is not even a moment that they're forgetting Krishna and doing something else. But there is another thing to the context of this thing. I think Shri Vishnu Chakravarti Thakura describes, they have worked so hard during the daytime and sleeping soundly at night. Because of their hard labor in the day, Lord Krishna awarded promotion to the highest planet in the spiritual sky. So when Nanda Maharaj actually is taken by Varuna, the whole Vrindavan was like experiencing this so much distress. And then Lord Krishna also immediately he goes looking for his father. He went to the Yamuna river, and from the river they went to the abode of Varuna. So Krishna enters Yamuna water, and both of them were not coming. So it's the whole day is gone, and all these Rajavasis, the Gopas and Gopis, they were looking for Nanda Maharaj and Krishna. They were like, Krishna is there so dear, and Nanda Maharaj is like their father, taking care of them so nicely. And without them, they were like such a distress. So they were so busy throughout the day looking for them. They couldn't find. And finally, as the night set, they were so tired, they just fell asleep. And when Krishna brings Nanda Maharaj back, then Nanda Maharaj describes this whole thing like, oh, what happened? Where did we go? This is what happened. And here, this great demigod Varuna, he's worshipping with so much opulence. He must be the supreme person. That is why he's worshipped like this. He actually describes there. And then all these inhabitants, they think, he actually belongs to the spiritual sky. Oh, can he award that to us also? So they would be like thinking like that. And as soon as that thought came to their mind, their hearts, immediately Krishna manifests and he awards them. So they're transported to the spiritual sky, to Goloka Vrindavan immediately. And they were experiencing all that. And in the next moment, they comes back. It's like, such a fantasy movie if we think of it now. Such a fantasy. I don't think we can even find in Star Wars or Harry Potter, whatever kids are so much after. If you really, hear and read Bhagavatam, Sridhari Prabhu describes, for book distribution, he's a big fan of Bhagavatam. So he says, whatever rasa, whatever you're looking for in a book, you can find it. Horror, romance, like suspense, and all kinds of things you can actually find. Such is the beauty of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is describing indescribable sweet pastimes of the Lord. So beautiful. So that is the context to this Lord Krishna awarded promotion to the highest planet in the spiritual sky, because there the explanation is we shouldn't take it that, okay, busy working during the day and sleeping at night, Krishna awards us also highest promotional, highest planet's promotion. So we'll also do that. I'm anyway busy during the day and I'm sleeping in the night, so I can also go. So that's the context to this verse. But irrespective of this, as we saw from Prabhupada's purport, they're constantly in that absorption of Krishna. So the way we can understand is, yes, we are not there right now at that stage, but at least we can try to consciously have that remembrance, at least during the times we're chanting and we're hearing the Bhagavatam, or when we are serving the devotees, we can consciously remember doing for Krishna. And through that, gradually, by hearing about these wonderful devotees, and by hearing from our acharyas, with their mercy, gradually our absorption and our remembrance also can increase. Krishna willing, one day we will have that opportunity to serve these wonderful devotees. So, yeah, that's the advantage of the way of Bhakti Yoga. One should discharge one's duty on Lord Krishna's behalf, and all one's actions will be saturated with Krishna thought, the highest pattern of trans spiritual realization. So that's the highest samadhi or bhakti as the Vrindavan Vasis are experiencing. So I don't know, I spoke like I didn't really prepare or systematic class, but just some inspiration from this purpose. And definitely Radha the presence on the altar. So we spoke about this text 30 and 31 in chapter 7, Canto 2, where Lord Brahma is describing the scheduled incarnations and their specific purposes. So quite a few verses actually describing Lord Krishna's pastimes. And we have heard about this Damodar pastime and Krishna showing universal form. And Nanda Maharaj is saving from Varuna. It's also interesting, like the text 30 starts with Mother Yashoda binding Krishna, and text 31 starts with Krishna relieving Nanda Maharaj from the bondage. So even in the 10th canto, Krishna actually smiles when he liberated Nalakura, he is still bound to the mortal. Even though the Lord is being bound, he is able to liberate others. He is bound by the love of his devotees, but he is the captain of relieving his devotees. So just by hearing these very sweet and beautiful pastimes, pray that our hearts be attracted to these pastimes more and more, and to our acharyas more and more. So that way, whatever miseries we are experiencing, once we step out of the temple room, so much happens, mind and our lives. But nevertheless, we can pray and try to remember, come back to this every morning, pray, that it's touching or being hearing, to have that connection for these devotees. So yeah, that's what we have. And you share any reflections, the question? Prabhu, if you don't mind, if you have a mic so that the devotees on Zoom can hear too. Sure.
Hare Krishna. Wonderful lecture. Nice class in the morning.
Yeah, go ahead.
Having the class in the temple room is so much.
Yeah.
So it gives a different texture. Your last comment.
Yeah.
Your last comment about how we come with this slide. We are told like we are on and we are not. That is the limitation of ordinary. But the Lord, born, we are not born, it really doesn't matter. I just want to bring that. The one was this one's like with all the rest feels. Whatever you are saying is in this book. They would get so mad at me because
Thank you so much for bringing that. Yeah, that Bhagavad Gita 7th chapter, where we say that the bound cannot liberate the other who's bound, but it doesn't matter. And it's also that he's not literally bound in the way we are bound, right? So that's the difference also. Thank you so much.
Thank you for here in this temple room. We know these pastime. Every time we hear singing very nicely. Lot of thoughts. Thank you.
Yeah, that's the beauty, right? Because the Prabhupada explains the first 5th chapter. You can probably you're able to hear. Okay. That's yeah. This is the second canto he stole at the 10th canto. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. I think the other thing also, I remember Maharaj mentioning the second canto Brahma and the 10th canto Brahma, right? Because in the 9th chapter of second canto, he actually describes the Chatushloki verse. So that Brahma and the Brahma who stole the house, think they are different. Something like that Maharaj actually called. But that's also interesting. He's talking about them kidnapping, so he might have got the idea, okay, this is what I have to do. Yeah. Anyone else in the temple? Okay, open to Zoom now. Hare Krishna devotees. Maybe they are speaking, we are not able to hear.
Mathaji, can you hear us?
Just a second, Mat. For some reason, we are not.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Yes,
Krishna.
Prabhu?
Okay, yeah, I think we can hear now.
Yeah, we can. I don't. Now you can hear us, right?
Yes, Prabhu. Sorry if you're speaking earlier.
No, I was just saying you were asking, so I was doing something else, Mataji.
Okay.
Yeah, if class is done, maybe you can hand. So otherwise, if somebody is speaking.
Okay. Anyone else on Zoom would like to share? Devotee? Okay, if nothing else, let me take the phone to the PC. Oh, somebody is speaking. Okay, no one.
Can you end the call, Mataji? Stuff.
I thought I'll just take to the outer one. Show the PC for those of you who couldn't come here. Oh, Zoom is not responding.
Yeah, the other live stream is going on. One more.
Okay, maybe that's right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
there. Shri Radha Shyam Sundar ki jai.
Yeah.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Chandra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna.